This is Healthy Souls with Father Nicholas Louh, helping you to live a Christ-filled life in today's world. Father Nicholas is the pastor of St. John the Divine Greek Orthodox Church in Jacksonville, Florida.
Good morning. Happy Memorial Day to all of you. So happy that you're all here in church and we are worshiping together as a family. Just want you to know how grateful it is when I see this church, especially I remember on holiday weekends, sometimes church would be a little bit light in attendance, but to see all of you here, I'm so grateful that you're here. And as I scan the church, always new people here. So if you are new to our community, please know we're so grateful that you're part of our church and that you're exploring the Orthodox Church. We hope and pray that you'll find a place that will be just loving and passionate towards you, and also share with you about the 2,000 years of uninterrupted history that we call the Orthodox Christian Church. And so I welcome you all here, and to those of you that are tuning in and watching our service online, we love having you part of our virtual family and just being part of our church. So we've started this sermon series last week entitled, Now What? And the whole premise behind this sermon series is that for a lot of us, after the season of Pascha, after we say Christ is risen or Christos anesti, that for many of us, Easter night can simply be an event in our life, and we simply leave it just as an event, as opposed to it being truly what God yearns to be, an invitation to change your life. And last week we talked about this in the very first sermon. We talked about be careful of cruise control Christianity, where you're just kind of coasting through your faith. And today I want to go a little bit deeper in this. And today I want to talk to you about taking care of your church. God has a dream and a vision for every single Christian church. He desires a church that welcomes all people, a church that embraces all people, a church that shares love and compassion. God has a vision for the church. And in the same way, just like God has a vision for the church, look at me everyone, God has a vision for you, the mini church. He desires for you that when people come towards you or come across your path, that they see Christ, that they feel love, they feel compassion, they are experiencing a time when they're not feeling judged. God yearns for you, the mini church, to be a church that truly impacts the great church. But you need to recognize, family, I say this to you all the times because I think that we need constant reminders of this, that there is an enemy who is undermining the mini church. He's undermining you. One of the greatest ways that he does that is through, listen to this, confusion. He just wants to confuse you about why you're on this earth and confuse you about what it means to have you as a mini church. So as I always like to do, let me kind of show you what that looks like. He loves to confuse us by telling us and not letting us realize that God is working through us to help change the world. In other words, what he yearns more than anything is to forget that God is depending on us to help change the world. You are the salvation that God is yearning for to save the world. He could have saved the world without us. But after the resurrection, he tells us that you are those people. You are called to be the light of this world. And for many of us, we kind of understand that in here. The problem is we forget it when we get out there, that God is depending on you to help save the big church. Or sometimes what we can follow in is we can forget about the world outside of me. For some of us, we don't realize that our entire life is all about us. We spend so much time talking about us, and the enemy is going, good job. Just keep focusing in on you. Just focus on your situation, your struggles, because if you do that, then whenever people come across your path, they're going to see someone who's miserable, always complaining, negative. They don't see the joy of Jesus Christ who's supposed to be in all of us. We're called, as the hymn just said, through the cross, joy has come into this world. And one of the other ways it loves to confuse us is to confuse with the idea that it's just not your job. And for many of us, we have this idea that that's you, Father Nick. Or that's just when I'm in here, or if someone's talking about my faith. Listen to what St. Maximus the Confessor says. He said, theology, listen to this, it's hard to hear, but you need to hear it. Theology without action is a theology of the demons. In other words, if you're not putting your faith out there, being the mini church that God is yearning for you to do, be careful. It may be theology of the demons. And I don't know about all of you, but my important principle for all of you to remember today is this, that I, and so should you, want my life to be so attractive that people who do not know God, but want to get to know God, will see God in me. I want my life to be so attractive that when people see me and do not believe, want to get to know God because they see God in me. I love in the Old Testament, friends, the prophet Isaiah. In a few weeks from now, the beautiful dome is going to be installed in this church. Can't wait for that to happen. One of the prophets that are going to be there is prophet Isaiah, who the prophet Isaiah, the word Isaiah in the Hebrew language means, the Lord is my salvation. And what you need to know is that Isaiah wrote about 800 years before Christ ever walked on planet Earth. He prophesizes more, you hear more of his prophecies in the New Testament than any other prophet. He prophesizes about a virgin giving birth 800 years before Mary was even thought about. He prophesizes about John the Baptist 800 years before John the Baptist ever landed here on earth. He prophesizes about the crucifixion when crucifixion wasn't even an idea in people's mind. That's how extraordinary Isaiah is. But in the story of Isaiah, chapter 6, which is a Bible verse that I would encourage all of you to read on your own, one of the reasons why we sing the hymn, Holy God, Holy Mighty, Holy Immortal, comes from the book of Isaiah, chapter 6, where in this prophecy, Isaiah is there, and he's mourning because his king has just died, Uzziah. And as Uzziah died, he's sitting there in this moment, and he's filled with mourning. As he's mourning, the heavens open up, the seraphim and the cherubim appear, and they start to hear, Isaiah begins to hear this hymn, Holy God, Holy Mighty, Holy Immortal. This hymn that is chanted when we chant on a Sunday morning, you all are supposed to be, and me included, supposed to be chanting this song because you and me are like the angels praising God. And at the very end of this passage in Isaiah chapter 6, Isaiah is saying, I feel so unworthy. I need to be forgiven of all of my sins. And an angel puts a coal, a hot coal, similar to what you see on that altar screen, on the altar icon that you see right behind our altar table. Places it on the tip of Isaiah, and his sins are forgiven. And then this is what happens. God says, I've just healed you. I've just forgiven you of all your sins. Now who is going to help me? There's a pause, a quietness. And then Isaiah stands up and he says, Lord, send me. Let me tell you how that applies to you. On Easter night, when you were in this church, when you held that candle, you affirm that your sins are forgiven. Not because of your good work, but because of what Christ did on that cross. He rips up your sins. And he's asking all of you, now you've been healed. Now your sins have been forgiven. Whether you embrace that or not, that's up to you. And then he says, now who am I going to go send? Who am I going to send to be a little church out in this world? And my question for all of you is this. Are you willing to stand up today and say, Lord, send me? It's to stand in here. But God is saying, are you willing to stand out there? And so how do we do that? How do we stand and send me, oh God? How do we do that in the world that we're living in right now? I want to give 3 areas. I'm going to call these the 3 R's for this sermon. Here's number 1. Number 1 is we have to, friends, recognize the moments that God is giving you. Now listen to me, everyone. The world that we're living in, whether you're retired or whether you're a stay-at-home mom or whether or not you work every day, this world is trying to occupy space in your mind. And for many of us, we are so busy in our own world that we do not see what's around us. We do not realize that God gives each and every one of us 86,400 seconds every day, divine moments to make a difference in this world. Last week I was taking Roxanne and George and Gabriella. They were looking at some colleges. And I took George and Gabriella and Roxanne to the airport, and as I was coming back from the airport, I needed to stop by at the gas station. And one of the things I oftentimes pray in the morning for kids is I say, whoever comes across George and Gabriella, treat them like it's their own kids. That people would treat George and Gabriella, and I would say all of our kids, like they're your own kids. So I pulled into this gas station. As I was pulling into this gas station, there was a man that was there, homeless. I began to pump gas, and I didn't have one of our home bags, and I don't really carry that much cash anymore. That's kind of becoming something that we're having less and less of. And so as I was pumping gas, the man came up to me. He said, "Do you have anything that you can give to me?" I didn't think I had anything, so I said, "Just wait a second." So I began to look at my chair in my car, and sure enough, there was $1 there. I began to that little change thing, and I had another about 7 or 8 quarters. I thought, oh, it's a couple other dollars. I can give it to him. Then I opened my center console, looked in there. There was another couple of dollars there. Then I looked in my gym bag. I had $1 there. I had given this man about $7. At the end, I gave it to him. He was so excited. I began to walk away. He said to me, "Are you going to pray with me?" Here I thought to myself, who's the priest here? Me or him? So here we are in the Shell gas station right there on Kernan Road. And I began to simply pray over him. And we just started praying. And I'm sure people were going, what is happening over there? Long story short, at the end of the prayer, he said this, and I'll never forget this. He said, "Father, every day you have no idea how hard it is to live on the streets in Jacksonville. I feel the demons attacking me all the time. And when you prayed just now for me, the demons left me for a little bit. Thank you so much." Can I just tell you, church family, that is a divine moment that God is giving every one of us. Are you on the lookout? Are you saying, "God, send me so that I can see what's out there, the needs of the people that are there"? At a gas station, someone's being attacked by demons, and a simple prayer helped to relieve them for just a minute. And as much as you do to the least person, church family, you are doing it to Christ. Here's a second thing that we not only recognize, but we need to refocus on our manners. 90% of communication is nonverbal. People are watching us, friends. They're watching how you live your faith. They're watching how you communicate about Christ is. And can I just give you just a little bit of ways that I would encourage you to live and to refocus your manners? Be positive and not negative. Like seriously, for a bunch of people that have just been freed from death, we should walk around with euphoria around us. Because God has freed us. You and I will see our loved ones again. That's not because of you. That's because of Him. That's the euphoria that God yearns for us. So be more positive. When you find yourself being negative, ask yourself, I'm just playing on the devil's playground, being negative. Or how about this one? Find common ground with people and not look at everyone who's different than you as a battleground. This world is trying to divide us. It will continue to increase between now and the elections and afterwards. And many of us are not even realizing how we keep playing into their hands. Look for the common ground in everyone, not the battleground. And finally, love people unconditionally because God loved you unconditionally. We refocus. St. Francis of Assisi says, preach the gospel, and only if you need to, use words. And finally, my friends, we recognize, we refocus, and we relay. We relay the message of Christ to this broken world. Now, I'm going to take back to a day that you probably don't remember, especially for those of you that were born Orthodox. When you were baptized, the service starts in the narthex in every Orthodox church. After that, as that service is taking place, your godparent says this: Do you join Christ? He doesn't say, do you join the church? It says, do you join Christ? Not just one time, 3 times. Do you join Christ? Do you join Christ? Do you join Christ? And then afterwards it says, and the godparent, and if you were an adult, you would be an adultism, you would be saying, I do, I do, I do. And then as we come to the very front of the church, this is the prayer that's said over you. It says that Christ could not stand seeing the human race, that's you and me obviously, tormented by the devil. Like God is sitting there in the kingdom of heaven and he's watching his people, all the prophets like Isaiah and others, come to us and remind us. And after every single time he's saying, tormented by the fact that we are being tormented by the devil. And Christ says this, I could not stand to see the human race being tormented by the devil. So I said, God, send me. I came and I saved. And then this is the response from all of you. Therefore, we will always proclaim your beneficence. In other words, we will proclaim your love. We proclaim, not the priest, not just some people, but all of us will proclaim your love. We will never hide your mercy. And then I love this statement. It goes, you, O Lord, have set us free. And can I just say that there is a world that needs to hear that message? We need to, friends. We need to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, are we relaying the message? Are we refocusing our manners, and are we recognizing what God is giving to all of us, these divine moments? So I leave you with this. I love talking about a woman named Corrie ten Boom. Corrie ten Boom, as many of you know, have read her story, and if you haven't, you need to go home and read her story. She was a Christian woman that helped save hundreds of Jewish people during the Holocaust at the expense of her own family, who would later on die because of what she would do. And she saved all these people. And one time she was asked about why she saved so many people, why she as a little mini church was so focused in on helping people. And she said this. She says, when you enter the beautiful city of the kingdom of heaven, and all of the saints all around you appear, and all of the people that were in your life you see, oh, she says, what a joy it is when someone will tell you, it was you who invited me here. It was you. So church, my challenge for all of us is to leave here today, recognize moments, refocusing on your manners, watch your manners, and relaying the message of the gospel of Christ. I'm asking all of you today to stand not only in here, but stand out there, and to be able to stand before Christ one day and say that I wanted my life to be so attractive that when people saw me and they didn't believe, wanted to believe because they saw Christ in me. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen.
We invite you to join Father Nick and his wife, Dr. Roxanne Louh, on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of every month for their Healthy Minds, Healthy Souls call-in show at 8 Eastern, 7 Central on Ancient Faith Talk.